I'm always a foreigner. I mean, even Iran in a way was a foreigner means you're somebody from outside. I am always a photographer from outside, going to a situation, taking photographs and going home. I never become the other. Wherever I photograph, if it's a war, if it's a revolution, if it's some religion, I always go back to my own place, to my own culture. All right. Well, you know, we're in the Hindu temple in Paris. And by the way, you realize how convivial it is. It's not like a Catholic mass. People move around and they give you lunch at the end. So you might think, might ask, what's the link between what I'm doing here today and the Iranian Revolution? I mean, it's really the Iranian Revolution which made me interested in religions, because I could see the passion raised by the revolution in Iran. Then, of course, I got interested in Islam, Christianity, paganism, Buddhism, and now I'm doing Hinduism. So that's why I'm in this temple. I'm fascinated by religion because I don't understand why people believe. I still don't understand. And maybe they understand then. I can define why people need God, but why people believe, I still don't know. When I started my work on the resurgence of Islam and Islamism, it became very obvious at the beginning there were two elements. One was Islam, the religion, the faith, people's relation with God, which was not my problem. On Islamism, the political side, the ideology, was totally different. They're telling you what to do, and what you should think. So, this is Islam. This is a man praying in Indonesia. He's gone. It's a very nice picture. He's with God, This is Islamism. It's a demonstration in Paris in favor of the whale. And you can see the violence inside the photograph. So I tried to be fair to my subject, and I didn't try to show only the Islamism, the ideology, but also Islam, because Islamism doesn't grow in the void. Islamism grows on Islam. So I had to show the relation between the two. And I did the same with Christians, I did the same with every other religion. It was my country, my people, and my revolution, at least in the early stages, when the revolution was a national movement, before it was confiscated by the mullahs, by the religious element. So I went back to Iran in 1977 when I knew something would happen, because the country was developing too fast, there were too many tensions. So I wanted to do some in-depth work on Iran, but then suddenly the revolution happens. So all I had to do was to go down in the streets and take photographs, because it was all happening in the streets. My own interpretation is that the people were taking revenge on the Shah, because the Shah, with his regime, with the political police, the Savak, had humiliated every Iranian. Everybody thought that every other Iranian was a Savaki, a secret agent. People would not even talk to their brothers or their cousins because they were afraid of the Savak. That suddenly people perceive that the Shah is weak, the regime cannot control them, the Savak is is not there, so they emboldened and they start the revolution. And so, as I said, it was a revolt and it became a revolution. When the American embassy was taken up by the militants, I was in Paris. So I thought maybe the thing will be over within a day, because Iranian militants had taken the American embassy before, and I was there. It was settled in a few hours. Vietnam was very important for my generation because it was really the world event. But when I became an international photographer, it was too late. The big battles were over. So what I did, I tried to do something different. I tried to go to the Viet Cong, because people had been to North Vietnam, people had been to South Vietnam, but nobody had really been to the Viet Cong, which were fighting in the south. Or if they went in, it was just, they were militants, but not real photojournalists. So I thought the best way to show this war was to go to other sides. So when the peace process started in Paris, and Kissinger was negotiating with the North Vietnamese, Le Duc Tho, and Kissinger made the statement, peace is at hand, I just jumped on the first plane. Because when there is a ceasefire, I knew from experience that this is the best time to work, because the states are weak, there's less control, then you can work. So I went in a couple of times and I spent like a week with them, and they were very, very, very fruitful week. It was like, probably in those days the most eventful week of my life, because we were moving around Viet Cong all the time. After I did that, I also went to North Vietnam. So I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I think I'm the only photographer who's covered 3 different sides of Vietnam: the South, the North, and the Viet Cong. wars are very complex because there is a social element, an economic element, a psychic element, even sometimes spiritual element in the wars. So as a photographer, I always try to cover all these various aspects of a war. Battle is just one thing. The violence, the direct violence, two troops or two sides fighting, is just one part of it. When you see a Viet Cong resting with his gun next to him, with his Kalashnikov next to him, it looks like a very sort of relaxing moment, intimate moment, but it's not. The war is still on. South Africa was very important in my life because there was apartheid, and I obviously was not in favor of apartheid. So I get there on the first day. Of course, I go to the Ministry of Information. They welcome me and they say, "Oh, Mr. Abbas, we have a school for policemen trainees. Do you want to photograph it?" And I say, "Oh, this is propaganda, and they want me, it's something they're proud of, and they want me to." I was just about to say no, thanks, Then I said, "Okay." So they take me to the school of policemen, and they're all naked to the waist, and they're all running, and and I see the colonel. Of course, they're all black, and the colonel who runs the school is white. So they all stop, and the colonel stands in front of them. I make a formal portrait. And you can see there's a lot of tension. And this photograph became an icon of apartheid. I mean, each time somebody wanted to illustrate apartheid, they will have this white colonel, in front of the blacks lined up. And I remember it very vividly. I mean, this is the situation. You can see a woman being lynched by demonstrators who then become revolutionaries. So there was a pro-Shah demonstration, and this woman was believed to be pro-Shah, so people are lynching her. They're hitting her and they're dragging her. In these moments of action, you don't think, you just shoot. And of course, somebody would shout always, "Oh, don't take photographs, don't take photographs." And I would say, "Okay, this is for history." I would say it in Farsi. But the problem was not taking the photograph, the problem was showing it. Because in the evening, we'd get together with friends, we'd talk about my day's events, and my friends said, "Abbas, you shouldn't publish this photograph because it shows the revolution in the wrong way. It's suddenly, it's not, the violence is not from the regime, from the Shah's regime, it's also from us." So I said, sorry. I might be for the revolution at this stage, but I'm also a journalist, I'm a historian of the present, so my picture has to be seen now. The taking of the hostages, the American hostages, in the American embassy was a turning point because that's how we could see the revolution was being confiscated slowly. People will come in front of the embassy, they will demonstrate, and it went on, and it went on. At one point, even it was like a media event, and there was a Japanese film producer. He would say, "Okay, go on now," and they would say, "Death to America, death to America," and they'd say, "Okay, stop," and they would stop. It was Hollywood. And then afterward, then the Americans, journalists will come to me and say, "Abbas, please, something I don't understand, They sing death to America, and then when it's finished, they come and invite me for tea. So the turning point when the revolution started being confiscated slowly was the American hostages. In fact, it was not 50 and then 42 American diplomats were hostage. It was the whole Iranian nation which was hostage of Khomeini and his clique. In those days, I was shooting analog. I was shooting film. So therefore, the second stage after shooting was the contact sheets. But they're also important for another reason, because they capture events which sometimes you don't have the time to see. I remember very vividly when Khomeini came back from Paris and he walked down the steps of the plane. Up to then, Khomeini was the nice old man, a sort of Gandhi. But then 25 years later, I discover a gem, and this is Khomeini's face. So it's only one frame, many frames. And his face is no longer the face of the nice, gentle old man sitting under the apple tree. Suddenly, he's the Khomeini he would become later. His eyes are so sharp, and he's looking down at all the lay people, not the religious people, and his eyes are saying, "Wait until my feet hit the ground, and then you will see." So just stay there. On that day, if I look at my contact sheets now, I can see that there were so many. It was media event because you have some important character and personality from the regime because he has bodyguards coming. But you can see also people selling food, like like a fair. And you can see the journalists. You can see all the journalists, working. And I'm surprised when I look at my contact sheets now, I just shot 2 frames. And then one is obviously the good one. And then I go photograph the journalists at work, TV crews. And then I come back, the last frame again is these 2 armed militants shouting in front of the element. And again, photography sometimes, you photograph something you're not aware of. It's only when you look at the contact sheet or when you look at your prints that you see it. There's a very element, there's something at the end of the picture, you can see the Statue of Liberty raising its hand the same way that the militants are. This is history giving you a little wink, That's what it is. I don't provide answers, I help people to define questions. I ask the questions, but the answers are multiple. Sometimes I give my own answers in the text or even in the sequence of photographs. You see, again, this is why a sequence is important. The sequence really is your writing. It's your photography is not just one frame; it's just the whole thing. See, there are 3 times in photography. The first one is shooting, and this moment is emotional. But if you take this frame instead of that one, it's not by chance. It's defined by your culture, by your education, by your personality, by the fight you had with your girlfriend the night before, your emotions you felt, all these things feed you. But you're not thinking, you just do it, you just take it, almost automatically, you take this photograph, although they're fed. So the second part is the editing, which, we will see. So when you edit, you choose photograph. Then the third part, which is probably the most important one, is the sequencing. Because taking the same photograph, putting in different order might mean something totally different.
Tell me.
So that's why when I'm doing a book with a publisher, I insist, you know, their responsibility is the cover, the title, they have the last word. But I have the last word on the sequence. My photography didn't change. I mean, I like to say I've been taking the same picture for 50 years. Same photograph, in the same style. I mean, if you look at my photographs, what I like about them is the suspended moment. Suspended moment means I like to give the feeling that when I took the photograph, the people who were doing whatever they were doing kept on doing the same thing. They didn't stop for me. It wasn't a frozen moment. It was a suspended moment. That's my way of. And also, if you look at my photographs, I mean, think there are many elements. My best photograph, there are many things happening at the same time. You know, there's something there, something there, something there, but there is a kind of harmony between what's happening. And this is what I call the suspended moment. Mexico was important because after covering the revolution for 2 years had really drained me out emotionally, because I'd given really a lot. So I could see that the wave of Islamism raised by the Iranian Revolution was not going to stop at the borders of Iran. It was going to hit the whole of the Muslim world and maybe the rest of the world. Emotionally, I wasn't ready, you know, because, as I said, I was drained. So for 3 years, I went to a country I knew from before because I had lived there 1 year, Mexico. And then Mexico helped me to define my style, because contrary to Iran, all you had to do was to go on the streets. Everything was happening in the street. In Mexico, nothing was happening. There was no event. So I went to Mexico, did, I think, 12 trips within 3 years, in and out. And then, you know, I did 2 books, and it helped me define my aesthetics and my style of photography and become more intellectual. This is Magnum. These were stamps to put either on prints or on dupes, color dupes. And of course, we don't distribute prints except for exhibitions, and we don't distribute dupes. Everything is electronic now. But it's very moving to see all these people who the founders of Magnum first. First, Capa, Robert Capa, Henri Cartier-Bresson, George Roger. Now where is Chim? Sorry, Chim is missing. But then we have people who left us, who died, you know, like of course the 2 Capa brothers, Henri, Roger, Silverstone, you know. But the good thing is we have some new names, but we don't have the latest one, because the latest one don't use film, you know. So we have some younger guy, Ben Dixon, and we have who else? Alex Soth. You know, you can be nostalgic about this, but the other thing we have as well, which disappeared, are these, you know, I mean, in a way, this is all my life, and there's more behind there, you know, all my contact sheets. And the last one is number 152. Book number 100. I have 152 books. That's the last one there. We had contact sheets, but that's how they were kept. And so this is it. This is the end of this world, the analog world.